Hi everybody, my name is Barry Schwartz and this is the Search Buzz Video Recap. Today is Friday, April 19th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at seroundtable.com over the past week. First up, Google's still fixing bugs with their indexing. Google News had an issue this past week on April 16th, 17th, where Google News websites, some of them, a limited number they said, were having issues being indexed in Google News. Google fixed it on the 17th, so it was about a 24-hour or so bug where Google had said a limited number of publishers were not being fully indexed and ranking in Google News. Google fixed it the day after. It's unrelated to the previous indexing bug, but it is what it is. There are lots of other bugs that are surfacing in Google search. I asked John Mueller about this. Well, first I covered basically saying, there's tons of bugs. We have bugs with the cache. We have indexing bugs with Google News, with Google Web Search. We have issues with the recipe-rich results. We have lots of different bugs, which I summarized over here. And it seems when I asked John Mueller about this, I said, indexing is core to Google search. And obviously, if indexing has a bug, it probably affects other things. And he said, yeah, that's probably right. He said he would pretty much wait until all the indexing stuff is finalized. So maybe when Google announces that Google Search Console, they backdated the reports to April 7th. You haven't been able to get reports on in the coverage report there. So just take a look at that. Google's kind of fixing up some things in the past. The cache date hopefully be fixed. Other things will hopefully be fixed soon. And when they do fix it, hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on. And like I said, these things are spreading like wildfire. The Google coverage report in Google Search Console has not been updated since April 7th. Google said they are working on it. They haven't updated it yet since. But things like the URL inspection tool, like we discussed last week, the Search Console reporting, all that type of stuff are having major issues. This is what it kind of looked like, where it had a dip in the traffic, in the coverage indexing report. That now no longer is there. They actually backed it up to April 7th, so you wouldn't see that until Google could actually fix it or try to fix it. Google was asked, John Mueller was asked in the Webmaster Hangout that there are some webmasters, SEOs, etc., using a technique where they remove the navigation from the website, remove all the navs, any hyperlinks to other pages for the most part, and this somehow helps them get out of the August 1st Medic update. Not sure how that works. It kind of sounds to me like PageRank sculpting if you listen to it. Definitely take a look at this. It's very interesting to hear this guy talk about it. John Mueller's like, that makes no sense. It would actually hurt a website if you remove the navigation, not just from a usability standpoint, but also from an indexing and ranking standpoint, it will hurt the website. But John's asking the guy for more feedback. And that guy seemed pretty confident that lots of people are using it. And there are a lot of people saying, hey, people are using this technique where they remove the navigation. That's kind of like a PageRank sculpting type of technique, which doesn't seem right to me, but whatever. Google may change how the no index in the robots.txt file works. Right now, Google says it's not supported. Do not use a no index directive in your robots.txt file. Google's been saying that for years. We've been reporting that since for the past probably 5 years or so. But it seems like it does work, and with that, people are using it. But John Mueller says we don't officially support it. I wouldn't rely on it. It might go away. And Gary says again, this might go away. I'm cleaning things up in there, and it might go away. And then people are like, how could you make it go away if it works? And Gary is like, well, I'll run a study and I'll see if people are actually doing it. If enough people are doing it, then we might keep it, but I don't think we should keep it, et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty interesting. Just keep in mind that if you are using a no index in your robots.txt, you're probably not if you're watching this video because you're probably pretty well up to date on SEO. But if you are using it, keep in mind, it looks like Gary might go ahead and remove it, or he might say, hey, you know what, enough people are using it, we're going to keep it and officially support it. But Gary does not want to use it going forward because it technically doesn't even make sense to use. Google AMP URLs are now supported in modern browsers. So we discussed this about a year ago where Google said they're going to go ahead and give away for publishers to use the direct URL, not the Google URL, the Google cache URL. And basically, if you are using a modern browser, and Cloudflare supports this now, where you can actually register your signed exchange with them to say this Google cache URL is related to this direct publisher URL, then your real URLs could show up in the Google search results. It's kind of like masking the URL on some level, and not all SEOs are happy with it. In fact, former Googler Pierre Farr went off on a whole rant about why this is not a good thing. So definitely take a look at that. But it's something that one of the major issues with Google AMP around publishers was that, hey, it was showing the Google URL for most people and not the publisher's URL. John Mueller said, hey, we do not and we cannot rank web pages manually on a hand-by-hand basis. So we do not hand rank web pages. The question is right here, are selected web pages ever manually ranked by hand? No, the web is too big, it's gigantic, and doing that manually would be impossible. Even adding weighting, like increasing weights of signals and so forth for specific sites is also impossible, he said. Although Google has said in the past that they do use or have exception lists or whitelists on an algorithm by algorithm basis, which is interesting. So definitely take a look at that. Love bringing up those old topics and going into the history and the archives of what we've covered before. Google said you cannot legally require someone to link to you. It's against their terms of service. This is something we covered back in December when Google updated their link schemes document, saying requiring a link as part of the terms of service, contract, or similar are against their guidelines. We covered that again in December. But then Rand Fishkin said, I think everybody should include in their terms of service that if you include content, copy content, post screenshots of your website, et cetera, you should have a search engine followable link. Then everybody goes off on him. You cannot do that according to Google's terms of service. Of course, then, who cares? Google's not the judge and jury of the web. And then everybody went off on this topic of how could Google say how and who we can link to, how people can link to us, yada, yada. This is the conversation that has been happening since the no-follow attribute was released way back when, and since Google issued penalties for how webmasters link or etc. But Google, again, according to their terms of service, you're not legally, according to their Google Webmaster Guidelines, you're not technically allowed, according to their guidelines, to forcibly require by legal or terms of service to people to link to you. You can do obviously whatever you want, but that's Google's guidelines. Google's URL parameters tool may change when it gets migrated to the new Google Search Console. John Mueller says he loves the tool. He's biased. He thinks it's one of the best tools out there. But Google, he said that it may evolve rather than get moved on a one-to-one relationship. Of course, I am very interested to see how it actually would evolve, how they would change the URL parameter tool. But we'll see. It was launched in 2009, so it's due an upgrade. So we'll see what happens. Again, this is something that Google said before. Google's search algorithms are designed to be granular as opposed to more site-wide. So people were asking John Mueller about DA, domain authority, and again, he says like Google does not use domain authority. It's a Moz metric, and it usually doesn't look at site-wide stuff. Even the Penguin algorithm, which was more affected a whole site, that went down to more of a granular level back when Penguin 4 launched. I think Panda also. Most of Google's algorithms try to be on a more granular, meaning a URL by URL, link by link, query by query type of basis. Sometimes you see it on the subdomain level. It's rare that you see stuff on a whole site level, although the whole quality of a site could be impacted on some cases. Google said you can use the site command with a query parameter to check specific individual URLs. Again, the URL inspection tool is having issues, so you need to do something, and John Mueller said you could do that. Many SEOs say that they prefer to redirect a page versus 4040 page when you do pruning old content. So if you have old content that is no longer great, most SEOs in this poll that Cyrus posted, almost 800 results, 77% said the 301 redirect a page, assuming the content can't be refreshed or improved. I would think it would be wrong to do it that way for the most cases. There are obviously some cases where you would do that, but I would think you shouldn't do that in most cases. Obviously, it's best to do that if you can, but in most cases, you probably cannot. Google posted their last JavaScript video in the series of JavaScript SEO videos. This one explains dynamic rendering, which launched about a year ago as a kind of workaround for sites that are JavaScript enabled. And with that, I posted all the videos in this series. There's about, I think about 7 or so videos. So definitely take a look at that. And also with that, Martin Split from Google said, hey, we're done with the series, but I want to do more videos. what ideas do you have around questions you have around JavaScript SEO that I could go ahead and do. He posted a form. You can fill out the form by clicking on that link and giving Martin some ideas on what other SEO videos you want Google to answer. Paul Haar, a lead and really legendary SEO, Googler who is in charge, or one of the people in charge of the 10 blue links at Google, and has been with Google since, probably like 15 years or so. He basically said that on Twitter that he'd argue that web search engines, including Google, I guess, have considered spam fighting a core competency and competitive advantage since the early days. And I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. It's cool for him to say that. This is pretty funny. So let's get to the fun part. John Mueller said, and he was asked this in a Brennan SEO conference. He says sometimes he says I don't know when he really does know the answer, but in the case where he doesn't know how to respond to it, either for two reasons. One, somebody else might have a better answer. Maybe it's Google Analytics question, Google My Business question, and he's not the right person to answer that question. Or two, he knows it might be a bit tricky, and PR, Google press team, public relations team, might think that what he's about to say might go ahead and be an issue. So he might hold back on answering those things. But he says most of the time when he says I don't know, he does know. He just has to be careful about how he answers. Google My Business is starting to roll out shortcodes or short URLs. So if you want to have like a g.page / 5 to 32 character limit, you could redirect people directly to your Google Maps page as well as directly to your reviews section. I don't see it yet, but you may be able to see it by going to the info tab in Google My Business and then clicking on profile short name, and then you can actually specify what your short name is. Google Posts now support highlighting customer testimonials and reviews, and Google announced this. I don't see it either, but if you go to Google My Business, you might be able to see in Google Posts, within Google My Business, ability to actually highlight 4 to 5 star reviews that you have. Google is testing another button. Again, we saw this before with it was worded differently, but back in June we had something called Show Previously Fetched Results, and now Google's saying Showing Previously Fetched Results, click Update. So it's a new interface for that. And finally, this is pretty funny. I kind of included the clip from Brighton SEO where John was asked, I guess he told something to Hannah Smith privately before the interview, and then Hannah basically asked him, hey, can you tell us what you call your internal alert system? And John Mueller said no, and Hannah said, oh, come on, I'm going to do it if you don't tell us. And then he says, no, you know you're not going to do that, and basically said, oh my God, and then she basically went ahead and said, they've got this Google has this internal alert system for Google for stuff like this, and it's called OMG. I don't think John really wanted people to know that. I don't think he'll be getting in trouble for that. But it's a pretty funny conversation. It's kind of sad also that he told her something in confidence and then went ahead and just said it publicly on video, and not just at the conference, which might be, I think it was like 4,000 people, but also that was recorded and publicly made available. It's just not the way to do things, in my opinion. But in any event, things happen, and it's not such a big deal, in my opinion, so hopefully it'll be okay. And I'm not sure if it was kind of like a skit to do that, because John Mueller said, oh my God, twice before she went ahead and said it's OMG. But I'm not sure. Looking at John's face, it seemed a little bit awkward. But in any event, it was a really fun conference to watch that Q&A. And John handled himself very, very well. In any event, thanks so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz. This is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at SERoundtable.com over the past week. Again, today is Friday, April 19th. Everyone have a great weekend. For those celebrating Easter, happy Easter. For those celebrating Passover, happy Passover. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys. Well, actually, next Friday I'll be offline, but I'll probably pre-record the video. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next. Bye.